My dear friends, reproductive rights abortion updates. Reproductive rights and abortion updates. The leaked intent of the U.S. Supreme Court to repeal Roe v. Wade vis-a-vis Casey has been creating a lot of commotion, protest, antagonism from pro-abortion groups and advocates and movements around the United States. As you have seen, and as you've been told, there are many who gathered in front of the residence of the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, the Honorable Justice Roberts, and others protesting, asking the United States government to stay the decision of the previous justices, that which is called stare decisis, because it's expected that as international political leaders, we have an understanding of the workings of the different three major tiers and arms of governmental governance: the executive branch, with the president or prime ministers and the secretaries of the departments or ministers of government; the legislative, which is the law-making arm of the government, be they at the federal level or at the state or regional level. And in certain places we talk about regional assemblies, or at the local government level, be they at the county level or the municipal governments or city governments. Abortion is a thorny issue, and there is the medical legal aspect of it. Just like other issues that nations and their leadership grapple with, every country has its own policy as it relates, and laws as they relate to abortion. To certain countries, abortion is outrightly banned by law. That doesn't stop abortions being done, but they are done illegally, and when those who perform them or go for them are caught, they are prosecuted. Now, the problem that we have in our hands in the United States is the fact that Roe v. Wade seemed to have created a historical precedent for abortion, in quote, to be done in the United States. But the United States Constitution does not have any place for abortion. The United States Constitution has not discussed abortion. The founding fathers never thought that that was an issue which should have attracted their attention for them to discuss and to legislate. Even the federal papers, Alexander Hamilton and the others who wrote the federal papers, which were articles close to 80 of them or so, to expound and throw light on the reasoning of the founding fathers of the United States as they lay down the number one legal document of the country, because they needed to be ratified by the different states, whether be they in New York or the other places. So Alexander Hamilton and the others, they wrote the federal papers or articles explaining how the founding fathers came to the United States Constitution. And then the different amendments, whether you go to the National Constitution Center, like some of us have done when we visit what we call Philly in the US of Philadelphia. I was with the Honorable Hillary Clinton when women made history. For the first time, a woman was the head of a major political party in a presidential election. That was in 2016 in Philadelphia. I was in New York in November 2016, going from Hilton and where Hillary was, where Trump was, and with colleagues, and we were looking at what was happening and the elections of the presidential elections of 2016. In all these presidential elections, abortion have featured somehow in the discussions. But there are many who say that the Republicans or the Republican or the Conservative Party of the USA has, over the years, worked on making sure that this agenda of theirs will come to pass by, in quote, packing the courts, packing the Supreme Court with conservative judges. You know that Barack Obama, in his last year in office, was supposed to get Justice Merrick Garland, who is now the Attorney General of the Biden administration, and the then majority leader of the Senate, because we don't talk about the Senate president in terms of the party. The Constitution makes the Vice President of the United States an automatic President of the Senate of the United States. So we talk about the majority leader vis-a-vis the party that has the majority number of candidates or senators. So presently, it's the Democrats who have a 50-50 balance with the vice president, who also happens to be a Democrat, breaking, the tie. So the Democrats have just a 1% majority most times. Now, for you to be able to codify the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision, which was taken, that many considered law from the bench. But if you really look at it, legally, judges don't make laws. The people make the laws. And the people make these laws through the people's representatives, and the lower houses and the higher houses. Many of these came from England. And so we have the Knights, the upper house, the House of the Commons, whoever the Commons, and whatever that means. And so you could say that the House of Representatives is the House of the Commons. When the founding fathers came from England, there were things that they didn't really want. They didn't want a king. They didn't want a kingdom. They wanted democracy, government of the people, for the people, by the people, as Abraham Lincoln said. So the first important thing is, as McConnell said, if it is possible, if the Republicans win the midterm elections in November 2022, they will work to make sure that abortion is banned nationally. That only tells you that what will come out from the Supreme Court is not banning abortion nationally. The Supreme Court is saying that Roe v. Wade was wrong from inception in the fact that the justices who took the decision were actually legislating from the bench because there was no constitutional provisions for the decision that they took. But again, if you want to look at it, every case is unique in its own right. And there are many cases that go to the Supreme Court for which there is no precedent. There are no statutory provisions for the judges to go back to. That doesn't mean that the people shouldn't seek redress when there are issues and the Supreme Court trying to work on that. There are times when the Supreme Court has come forward to help the country, now to codify and or to make statutes on issues that are controversial or they are dealing with. So far, the Roe v. Wade is still in place. But if you really look at it, is Roe v. Wade a law? Because laws are statutes and they are made by legislators. Did legislators make Roe v. Wade? They didn't. The Supreme Court made a decision based on cases or a case that was brought before it. The Supreme Court doesn't make laws. So in quote, Roe v. Wade is not a law. It was just a decision from the Supreme Court. It was a judgment or ruling, addressing or reviewing certain situations or cases that were brought before the court. So there is no need for panic. First of all, there is a federal system of governance in the United States where the states have rights, just like the capital punishment. There are some states where there's no capital punishment, and in Texas there's capital punishment. And so that right was left in the hands of the states. The judges of the Supreme Court are saying that stare decisis on its own is not binding, even though it says stare decisis. Let it stay as it was decided. But what does that mean? Nothing binds judges to the decision of. There is no law that says anywhere that judges in the world are bound by the decisions of their colleagues in the past. They have to look at the case in the merits and also gauge it based on what their colleagues have done in similar circumstances in the past. But the final decision is that of the judge or the judges or the juries. So, irrespective of we all feel for what is going on and those who are involved, we also want to look at the medical aspect of it. There is the moral, ethical, and medical legal aspect of those things. And those of us who went to medical school and have practiced labor ward practice and have been there and delivering babies and following babies and infertility, issues that complicate pregnancies, deformities are bad. People do amniocentesis and then find out that, there may be birth defects here and there, and then they want to commit an abortion. So people have different, because somebody will say, I don't want to have a Down syndrome baby, or I'm not going to have a child with this defect that is just going to be troublesome for me for my whole life. So I want to abort the fetus so that I can get, in quote, a normal baby. Then we divide gestation into 3 phases. First phase, first trimester of 3 months, second trimester of 3 months. So we have 6 months, and then the third trimester of another 3 months, which is 9 months. So during this time, we go through an embryological processes, and different things begin to happen, in the embryo at different stages. So the first week, second week, third week, until we get to the 39th week of viability, different things are happening. Some people talk about life. When does life happen? Is it when the sperm and the ovum come together? Those things are all left to science to the side. When you start talking about, no abortion after 6 weeks, because after 6 weeks we can get the heartbeat or the respiratory function of this one from the sonogram or ultrasound. Well, there are those who believe that life starts immediately the sperm and the egg, as you call it in common parlance, so the ovum, and the sperm come together and they fertilize. So then there are different forms of contraceptives which on their own are a form of abortion. They are called abortifacients that we introduce because they actually stop the zygote from undergoing the normal division and specialization and growth. So they are forms of contraceptives on their own, which what they do is abort. If they are going to stop the implantation process taking place in the uterine lining and all of that, then they are going to abort somehow. So these are thorny issues. Let it play through the courts. Let there be no vandalism and things like that. Let